This year was a huge one for the artificial intelligence trade. Some big winners, a few losers, but a market that continued to ride the expectations of disruptive technology. Question is if any of it's going to blow back on us in the wrong direction. Peter Andersen, founder of Andersen Capital Management, has been toying with such an idea, kind of teasing us. So let it all out here, Pete. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Should we be fearing the robots at this point?
I don't think we should be fearing the robots. What we should be fearing is our enthusiasm for the robots. You know, as we look at 2025, I think there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about robots, quantum computing, artificial intelligence. And while all this is exciting and interesting, I'm not sure that it's going to fulfill our wildest fantasies. And of course, that trickles up to the way we pick stocks, doesn't it?
Seems like because we've been picking a few in a few categories that are a little bit more frothy than others. It seems there are kind of two sides to this AI story. There are the companies that are really giving huge numbers and growth and demand. And then there's some other stuff where we seem like we're stretching in the second half of the year, speculating on like pre-revenue or pre-earnings.
Yes, I think so. And, you know, just a common test that we all can do is just go on your online bank, for instance. And you know, banks and other technology companies, of course, are boasting that they're using AI to make your experience more natural and more enjoyable. But I think we have a long way to go. Just go on your banking app and use their AI application and see if you're happier at the end of the interaction. And I will guarantee you're not. You will be more frustrated. We have expectations that these things are going to be almost better than a human customer service person, and I walk away personally with much more frustration. Yeah. So where is the result of all this AI investing? And you know, time is not our friend, it's our enemy with this, because people will start to get more growing frustration as to when they're going to see the benefits of this. Not to mention stock analysts that are also wondering when they're going to see the benefits of this financially.
I like the point about some of the chatbots because they still drive me freaking nuts.
Exactly.
You know, if we could make them better, then that seemingly would be a big step. Peter, I mean, you're like not a tech or growth hater by any means. You've been long a lot of the cyber stuff. You've been in some of those big chip trades at the beginning. Where do you feel the most potential for blowback? Like AI, quantum, crypto, blockchain stuff? Like if you had to pick one to really nix from the portfolio, what is it?
I would say definitely quantum computing. You know, I have a background in physics, so I feel like I'm a little bit more qualified than perhaps the average Joe or Mary out there. So let me tell you this. Analysts and viewers are spouting out terms like qubits and quantum entanglement. It's rolling off their tongue easier than it is for me this morning. And yet they don't really know what's happening. So philosophically, you have to ask yourself, how much do I have to understand about the science to invest? But it's getting more and more complicated. Quantum mechanics, I've taken too many classes in quantum mechanics, so I really understand what's going on. And we have to operate these things at minus 470 degrees Fahrenheit, Oliver. I don't know why this hasn't been focused on so far. Just think of that. That's colder than out of space. So the fact that people are thinking we're going to have desktop quantum computers, I don't know how that is possible. And lastly, when we've seen that golden chandelier of Google's quantum computer, you know, that's with the cover taken off. You have to put a cover on that and maintain that at near absolute zero, minus 470 degrees. So that alone should give us great pause and wonder, are we too early having public companies to invest in when it is so speculative at this point?
I hear you on that. There certainly are, you know, some strides being made to try and make this tech more amenable to like real applications. We got a big quantum campus here in Chicago with the research and stuff. But I mean, to your point, it still is so unwieldy compared to other tech. And I kind of found it a bit ironic that in the middle of the large language model revolution that is what's happening with AI and their computing, that suddenly we're going quantum. It's like, maybe we do one at a time here. Like, let's lock in one, you know? Like,
yes, but I think that's just the nature of human nature, frankly, that especially as a new year rolls around, we all like to have our new year resolutions, for instance, and I think in investing, we like to think of the next big things that are coming. I mean, mark my words, this is what's going to happen in the first quarter of 2025. There's going to be a lot of focus on quantum computing because it is the most recent, shiny object that we could look at. And while the science, the physics is incredible, we probably will get there at some point. But the way they measure this thing in qubits, for instance, that we have a long way to go before there's practical applications. Google boasted about some complex problem that they solved that would take ordinary computers longer than the age of the universe. Things like this really do attract the general investor. But you really have to understand what's behind it. And that problem that Google solved has really no practical application
exactly.
to the real world.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Peter, what about the big crypto boom? Have you bought into the revolution, supposedly, of what's going to happen in the next administration if they clear the regulatory pathway for Bitcoin and cryptos and others?
I hate to sound like a negative Nelly, because so far all we've been talking about are things to avoid, and unfortunately this still falls in that category for me. Believe me, I am optimistic about other sectors. I hope we can talk about that in a moment, but when we talk about quanta, what are we talking about? I'm
setting you up as the contrarian here this time.
Yeah, I have a list of things I'm negative about, but let's just talk about crypto for a moment. I think that it is still, dare I say, a hoax, and there is nothing behind it in terms of some very impressive mathematical operations. And when this ends, nobody really knows, but I have been historically down for saying that I never have invested in crypto. I know that I've lost, on a great rally, but I still have to find the fundamentals of that. And comparing that to quantum computing, where you actually have physics behind it, I think this is totally speculative. And what's fueling it, of course, is the new administration's attention to it in a very non-traditional way. So there has a lot of momentum behind it. But in terms of what's actually there, I don't think there's anything there.
So it sounds like the ranking then of like risk and speculation.
Yes, right.
Crypto on the bottom, quantum above it, AI above that, right?
Yeah.
And then your favorite for tech that seems like the most reliable is the security side and the data. So tell me what you do like in the growth tech category. Because I know you're not a negative, Nelly. I just
yeah, right.
But I also like to defend a fellow crypto cynic, so I got your back, Pete.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Because I need all the defense, as you can imagine. There's not a lot of us out there. We should start a secret society, I guess. But in terms of cybersecurity, that is a sector that is just not going to go away for a long time. Again, the science and the physics behind that is very solid. There may be some that will say, well, quantum computing can actually defeat that, but that is a long, long way off. Theoretically, that's true. So if we accept that it's a long way off, it is a technology that is in an arms race. There will never be a shortage of bad actors out there that are trying to hack into many different systems. So those industries, for instance, Palo Alto Networks is a name I've held for a long time. CyberArk is another one, CrowdStrike. So these are very strong companies, and I think regardless of what happens, we haven't even talked about interest rates, but that's another specter that is on the horizon for 2025. And regardless of which way the rates are going to go, I think that's still a very solid investment thesis.
Understood. Peter, thanks for the conversation, fun one, and thanks for letting us paint you as the contrarian today.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Peter Andersen, founder at Andersen Capital Management. And he has been on the right side of a lot of the winning tech trades from earlier this year as we talked about being positive on cyber, being positive on the semiconductors.